Looking for reliable and convenient personal safety products? Less Lethal has you covered. As Canada's only authorized Byrna distributor, we provide a range of products for recreation, protection, and security. Explore our Byrna launcher lineup, including the LE, SD, TCR, and Mission 4, designed for different levels of performance and protection needs. We also offer the Banshee personal safety alarm, designed to protect children, women, and vulnerable individuals. Because your safety is our top priority. Shop now at lesslethal.ca.
Maybe this joke has been made before, but we just left Vulcan and came to Drumheller, and those guys have got to be jealous of what Drumheller's got. If this was named Vulcan, you would understand it, because it's like completely another planet, and we'll get to that a bit later on in the program. But we are in Drumheller, which has a huge amount of history, and with a lot of history comes a lot of legend and leaves a lot of ghosts in the room. And that's where Lothar comes in. Thanks so much for joining me, man. I appreciate that.
My pleasure.
You, I think, are kind of iconic here in town, certainly for tourists.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's more than, you and I talked about this on the walk over to the picnic table here. There's more than dinosaurs in Drumheller, and that's because it has a vast history here in Canada.
Yes.
Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, Drumheller had a nickname up until somewhere into the 30s called Hell's Hole. And it wasn't just because of the heat we produced from coal. This was not a nice town to live in. It was rough and tough. And so all across, Drumheller started in 1911 officially with coal mining. And 7 years later, by 1918, we had that nickname already across Canada.
Oh, wow.
This was the worst town to live in Canada. So it was pretty rough and tough. Very historic, though. We've had all kinds of ne'er-do-wells come through here. Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. They spent a couple summers here in our area.
It kind of feels like a place they would hang.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Not to mention then our coal mining, which is the one thing that kept Drumheller alive during the 30s. It's the thing that prevented Drumheller from becoming a ghost town.
Oh, that's kind of where you come in. But yeah, tell me, how did it? Coal was the discovery of the century, I would assume.
Big time. Yeah.
Drumheller.
And it was everybody needed coal. Everybody. All of Canada predominantly got their coal from us. We shipped it all across Canada. During World War II, we shipped hundreds of thousands of tons over to England to fuel that war machine, to keep us alive. But it was coal that allowed Drumheller to stay afloat through the 30s.
Now you, I guess the focus for you is a lot of history, because you do the official ghost walk, the guided ghost walk tour here in Drumheller, which I guess has made you really have to absorb the history of Drumheller.
Very much so. Not just by reading. I've done a lot of reading, but a lot of people bring their histories to me. Or if they're from Drumheller and they come on the tour and I'm telling a story, they're not shy about saying, no, wait a minute. That's one man's perspective, but that's not the way that I remember it.
Wow, that's a cool day at work, I think, for you.
It really is. It's fun when that happens, because a history book can only tell you so much from one person's point of view.
Yeah.
Unless you were really there, you just have to accept the hearsay. So it's I keep the history. I do a Reader's Digest version of the history of the downtown of Drumheller. The guys that started it, some of the interesting stories around those individuals, a couple stories that have been forgotten that need to be pushed a little harder.
Yeah.
There is a political content in there, but it's for another time. And so Drumheller is the most... The Alberta government some years ago did a research project on the historicity of the downtown cores of the small towns of Alberta.
Okay.
And when they were said and done, Drumheller came out number one on that list of having the most complete historical downtown of all those small towns in Alberta.
Now, what has kept it so?
Partly pride. Partly economics. It's just cheaper to renovate than it is to tear it down and build new.
Fair enough.
Often. The bones are there. Most of our buildings in our downtown area are built out of brick. So they are solid. They're not burning down anytime soon. The interior might, but not the outside.
Now you can retrofit those, especially in a historic fashion. Now it's the way to open a cafe. It's the way to open a restaurant.
Right?
Yeah.
So I think that's one of the big things that has kept Drumheller from changing a whole lot. It's all brick, and it's great to look at.
It is a beautiful looking little town, and as I said to you, I looked at your brochure, and by the way, we'll make sure that you get Lothar's contact info as at the bottom in the description. But I look at some of the imagery in your brochure, and I think to myself, this really was a Wild West town, and as you describe it as a hellhole. Sorry, what was it?
Hell's Hole.
Hell's Hole, like not just a hellhole, hell's own very own hole.
Yeah.
So this really, I think, maybe I'm wrong, this feels like it was the Wild West of Canada.
Oh, very much so. In fact, the little town of Wayne, where the Last Chance Saloon is just down the highway, it was a law unto itself until the mid-1970s.
What do you mean?
So there's a story goes, in the Last Chance Saloon, in the wall are 3 bullet holes with a picture frame around it. And the story is that around about 1972, 73, there were a couple of young fellows from Calgary that had come out for lunch. And after lunch, they just thought that they would ditch their bill. Came to the table and they just thought, if we just make a play for the door, who's going to stop us? So they tried. And at that time, the guy running the bar had a Colt 6-gun behind the desk. And he pulled that out and he put 3 bullets over their heads into the wall. And he said, pay your bill and don't come back.
That is a message that you don't forget.
Yeah.
This is why across the country as I'm touring, I have yet to skip out on a bill. It was instinctively in me to dash and dine,
I'm sure.
but something prevented me.
Good.
Now let's talk about the history is quite vast. It was coal mining. What were some of the other businesses and industries? And I'll get to the ghost end of things in a minute, but what were some of the I guess adjacent businesses that were in town? I mean, we hear about Kingston in that same era was basically a brothel while they were setting up our country.
Right.
And I could only imagine in the Wild West it had some interesting side businesses.
Oh, it did. It had its share. One of the big ones were the brothels. Again, this was a man's town. 5 men to every 1 woman, roughly, was the makeup of the population. So we had about 50 brothels here in the valley from 1911 to 1950 when they closed. The 2 big prominent ones was the house of Mary Roper and Fanny Rollins. Colorful ladies, we could do a whole podcast just on them. So it's a story for another time. But those 2 ladies were really well loved, well respected in the town by everybody. So those ran, like I say, till 1950. Then during Prohibition, 1916 and 1924 here in Alberta, our town was pretty much run by Al Capone. He had a bootlegging business out of our downtown. We had a tunnel system in our downtown core. And so he took over those tunnels. And the booze would come in from BC, get rebottled down here, and then distributed throughout southern Alberta. So big business.
It's so funny how people find a way to be lucrative in every era,
right?
Even if it doesn't show up on the books.
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting that there is this kind of rich history here, which kind of, I think, leads into your realm, which is talking about the ghosts that wandered these streets and what they meant to the town.
Yeah.
So tell me about the walk. Like by the way, I've never been on a ghost walk.
Oh my gosh.
No, I really need to go on one. That's why I was excited to do this. I like to really do my research before I book a ghost tour. But what can people expect?
So first and foremost, my ghost tour is family friendly. So anybody can come on it. It's about an hour and a half to 2 hours, depending on the interaction with the group that's on the tour. It's all on street level. We don't go into any buildings. Primarily, it's a history tour, but there are 4 or 5 ghost stories along the way. And the unique trait, I guess, of Drumheller is it is purported to be the most actively haunted town in Alberta.
All right.
So we have ghost researchers that come here from all over the world to check out stories and to do their experiments, whatever you want to call it, because our activity is so constant and regular. So if you're sensitive to that sort of thing, this could or could not be the best place for you.
Yeah, you might just be tuned in. But what I think I hear here, what I get most of all is context. Mm-hmm. Right? You're given a
Absolutely.
context, and the beautiful thing is these stories and this, activity in Drumheller of the supernatural variety brings to life the history.
It does.
It brings these souls back to our current moment.
Yeah. And Drumheller sits in a unique situation with all of that. And it's so much of it is connected to our coal mining. That and the Spanish flu, which hit us hard in 1918. But the coal mining, all of our coal miners for the first 20 or 30 years came from Eastern Europe. And you can see that when you walk through our cemetery and see all the names on the headstones. Yeah. And so they're bringing with them their religions, their personal pride, their superstitions about death and dying and those that roam when the night is full. They bring all of that folklore with them, and it impacts the way they live and they interact with each other. And in some instances, I think that it does have an effect if you believe in spirits and that they can linger after death. I think that impacts some of those individuals that are still here.
Have you ever given thought, and I would imagine it would be an occupational hazard, have you ever given thought to what is this paranormal activity that we refer to as ghosts? Is this another dimension in your mind? Is this a leap in timeline? Do their spirits actually remain? What's your estimation? What's your summation?
Without getting too religiously philosophical.
Feel free.
All right. I have a worldview. My worldview is that the world is not as it was supposed to be. It's broken. All of creation is broken. Everything that we see and don't see. And that we are made up of 3 components. We have a soul, we are a soul being, we have a spirit, and we live in a body. And those three things work together while we're alive. And what can happen at death, depending on how you die, the spirit can be separated from the soul and the body. I believe when you die, your soul goes back to wherever it's supposed to, wherever it came from. And your body naturally decays. But the spirit has an option, either by choice or just by sudden happenstance, and can be left behind. And it can or cannot have... Spirits and ghosts are different in my worldview.
Huh.
A spirit is an active or conscious part of us that can remain behind. We can interact with it potentially. If it chooses to interact with us, it still has some personality from the person it was. And sometimes it might still have a mission that it needs to fulfill. Or it just liked the place so much it doesn't want to leave yet.
It needs to be existing in that plane.
Yeah. For me, a ghost is more like it's like a memory, a cassette play.
Easy for you to say.
Yes. Like a videotape put on replay.
Yeah, it's funny that you say that. That's kind of the vibe that I get from the description that people have, that they are going through a series of motions over and over and over again. And even if that spirit's not attached to it, that energy still remains in that space.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so to me, that's what a ghost is.
You didn't know I was so freaky deaky, did you? Yeah, I got ideas. I got ideas.
Well read, or whatever. Yeah, so it's a very different thing, right? A ghost is just something that just keeps repeating itself and is not aware of its surroundings.
Right.
A spirit is.
I think that's what is so freaky to people. Okay, if I stayed here as a spirit, I could get that. I'm still here without a body. I get it. But there's that realm of disconnect between the spirit and the real realm that we live in, the physical realm. That's terrifying, I think, to people, and that's what makes ghosts freaky.
I guess. For me, I think that the thing that makes them freaky is that it's paranormal. Like the ghosts here in our town, from all the stories I've done, I've been here 33 years now, and for all the research and people I've talked to, none of the ghosts here are here to get you.
Right.
And they're not here to go home with you.
It ain't Scooby-Doo?
No.
Oh.
They're stuck here because of deep, 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 deep sorrow and sadness between coal mining and the Spanish influenza.
Right.
Those two things.
Tragedy,
really
sudden tragedy. Yeah.
And there's so much sorrow tied to those moments within the mindset of the miners, predominantly miners, families or children, that it's just locked. It's just stuck here. So much of it. So.
Well, let me ask you in closing. Somebody wants to set up a tour with you. I'm going to make sure that they get the contact info.
Okay.
What happens? They just set up a date and you say, okay, look, here's an ideal time and date to go? Or is there a perfect time of day to do the ghost walk?
There's two ways to go about it. We have the general ghost walk tour, which is every Thursday, Friday, and Saturday through the summer until September long weekend.
Okay.
You just show up at 7:45 with cash in hand, pay the tour guide, myself, or Sonia Green, and then we go on the tour. If you can't make Thursday, Friday, or Saturday, or you want just me, or you want to do a tour for the cemetery, then you would contact me either texting through my phone number or Facebook Messenger or email. And we would then organize to set up a time and a date that's good for you and me, and then I'll take you privately.
Lothar Malberg, I'm going to do his name properly, okay? Lothar, see, I can't do it. Lothar Malberg. Why can't I make that happen?
I know.
Lothar Malberg is your ghost tour guide here in Drumheller, but also a really good source of kind of putting the history of Drumheller into a context that'll make you enjoy the experience, I think, a lot more.
Yeah.
Like, I think if you come to a place and you understand how it got to the moment where you arrived, you're ahead of the game. You're going to really enjoy yourself a lot more.
A lot more here in town, yeah.
Lothar, thanks, man. I appreciate this.
Thanks, Mike.
All right, this is a National Historic Site just outside of Drumheller, Alberta, and I'm going to recommend that you make this part of your trip. We're at the Atlas Coal Mine Museum, which is incredible. First of all, the setting is remarkable, and I always recommend, and this is a really particular recommend, that you take a look at the history through the eyes of what's still available in the museums across the country. This is outstanding. And to put context to where you are and how we ended up here, this is a good way to do it. And to that end, Bob Moffett joins us. You're not just a tour guide, but you live the experience here.
Yeah, I came to the mines in 1952, so we were still using ponies and loading coal by hand, or at least in the mines that I worked in.
They didn't send you to the fancy mines. You had to use the hands and ponies.
You got her.
So, Bob, let me ask you something. You, in that experience, did you grow up in this area and find yourself in the mining industry?
I was born here in Drumheller, and I'm a fifth-generation coal miner.
Wow.
It seems like it was in your blood.
And so the skill set associated with that, I think, is probably maybe still used to some degree today, if not automated a bit more or updated a bit.
Well,
but what was a day of mining like here in Drumheller?
Well, you started down the mine at, in my case, I went down at 8 o'clock, rode in for pretty near 3 miles in one of the coal cars, keeping your head down because you never knew when a timber was going to crack and maybe lower itself. And you did like to come out with your head on.
That sounds
Yeah.
fair. That sounds like a fair day's work.
Get back in there, and I worked for contract miners. So the faster I went, the bigger the tips were on payday.
Right.
So I would help my miners load coal. I would help them drill for the dynamite. I help them timber. I helped them do everything. Not only for the extra money that might come along, but I served an apprenticeship there that couldn't be beat.
Yeah, it sounds to me like you got to put your hands on everything in the process.
I did.
Paint a picture for me. What was Drumheller like at that time?
Oh my God, it was beautiful. There was still a lot of the mines working. You take payday. They were smart with the mines. Half the mines paid on this Friday and the other half paid on that Friday, which was good.
We didn't want everybody partying together on the same day.
No, but to walk down the street, you would thread your way through groups of people. It was, I don't know, it was just, the atmosphere was excitement.
It was like a heyday here.
Yeah.
But not only that, in that era, let's take a look back to the Depression. This coal mining operation, and many like it, how many were there in this area?
Mines?
Yeah.
Over the years, 139.
139 mines. Now, during the Depression, this would have been one of the saving graces for the West. Not only was it providing fuel, but it was providing a huge amount of money and a huge amount of work for people.
Not really.
Okay. What happened, Bob?
Well, nobody was burning any coal or using any electricity if they
makes
could
sense.
help it.
Makes sense.
If I could chop down a tree instead of paying the $2 for a load of coal, and the miners that were working, unless they were on contract, they were getting like $2.70 a day.
Right. So
$2.70.
very different from the mining standards of today. So what did that mean at the time then? Because I think I was always under the impression that it was mining in this area that made a difference to keeping the West afloat. Towns like Drumheller might not have even existed at that time. What did you do in that era when it slowed down?
Well, you started leaving town.
Yeah.
But the sad part about it is during the Depression, Ottawa was buying coal to heat Ontario homes. And they were buying it from Pennsylvania.
No, I knew that was going to happen. Why? Some things never change, Bob. I'll be honest with you.
It sure as blazes, it was bad here.
So now roughing that out, I guess my next question is, what makes this area so rich for coal mining? How did this become the era of coal mining in
There used to be a kilometer thick ice pack over your head here. That means that when it melted, we had a lot of water. And this was an ocean at one time, or a sea, all the way from Mexico up to Inuvik. A sea with lots of vegetation that rotted and came down and was compressed. And it took about 30 feet, and I'm not using meters for you,
It's all right.
30 feet of this vegetation compressed to make 1 foot of coal.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
And how deep below the ground are you digging for coal?
Well, we only went down like 100 feet below your feet here. I understand there's 7 seams of coal down there. So we could supply coal forever.
Right. And how far down did mining here go?
We only went down 100 feet below the valley floor.
And so how many more feet do you figure are there below then?
Well, there's supposed to be 6 more seams of coal down there.
And that's 100 feet as a seam?
Yeah. No, the seam is 8, 10, 12 feet thick.
Okay.
Or 4 feet. They actually mined coal in some places at 32 inches.
Really?
Which meant a miner was in there picking it out and kicking it back to his partner who loaded it
Pulled
in
it
the
out to the car. Incredible. So the guys that you worked with, I guess, in the mine, what were the jobs that would be on a daily tour in there?
Oh, they worked in the tipple. You were up there picking the rock out of the coal. They called it bone, but it wasn't bone. It's rock, clay, rock, throw all that stuff out. You had people loading timbers and hay, sending it down to the horses if you happened to be a horse mine. And you had electricians, carpenters, machinists, clerks, and timekeepers.
There was work for everybody here.
Oh, there was a lot of work. This mine, I believe it was 265 people worked at this particular mine.
That's a pretty significant portion of the population here at that time, I would
When you
imagine.
close a mine like that, people have to scatter all over to try and make a living.
So now, I would imagine mining in the area no longer a thing. Is that?
It's done.
When did it finish?
Well, 79 was the last year they mined. They pushed coal through this tipple till 84, but that was it. And even the strip mining that's not far from here shut down.
What did that do to Drumheller at the time?
Oh, it killed us.
Yeah.
Businesses going out of, going bankrupt, and people just moving out. I don't know what happened here this last year, but there's been about 8 new businesses move into town, so maybe there's hope.
Well, there's a new mine in town, and that's tourism. I mean, that's the one thing that I think Drumheller has that you can never take away. The most unique landscape I've seen anywhere in the world.
Oh, yeah, it's great.
It's incredible. What has created this landscape? Is it that same process of glacial melting?
Glacial melting, and it must have been some terrific heat to melt it to the extent that it carved this valley out.
Right. It's incredible how the landscape is, you can see that it's a product of movement, that there was something here that,
oh yeah,
you can see the prehistory here. It's very visible.
Yeah.
So I think maybe tourism has added to a new breath of life there.
Oh, tourism is great. We got the Terrell Museum in, and people started to realize, gee whiz, maybe we should be looking at other areas like the Swinging Bridge and the Hoodoos and the Atlas Mine.
Right. Well, that's a great point. I mean, that tourism is the reason this mine got saved. And really, I'd like to put a point on it that it was mines like this that made the West a developing place.
See, there was no timber out here. No, there was nothing to burn but buffalo chips, and the buffalo were all dying. So.
Right. Yeah. So essentially, it was by necessity that the West kept warm through and powered many things. Yeah. The rail system, I imagine, was heavily impacted.
Oh, unbelievable! The number of rails that ran. I saw a map from 1920 or something like that. You couldn't believe the mines, the rails that were from one place to the other, and coming into centers like Drumheller became a center.
Right.
I mean, at one time, you went north of here for banking and west of here to buy groceries. My grandfather came up here and opened the first grocery store.
Oh, is that right?
Yes.
And when did he do that? What year was that?
That was 1915. People were buying from other places. But he came up from Arkansas, he closed his store there and came into Drumheller. They ran it for a year and sold it. And then he was well over 6 feet. He was working in a mine for that first year. And as soon as he had money to buy a dray system, he went into that business.
Get enough of the ducking for all day long, yeah. That's a large... So let's talk about that. What are some of the physical realities of working in a mine then?
Well, if you go into our shower house here, if you're anything over 5'8", you kind of watch out you don't hit your head on the nozzles. And people say, well, everybody was short. What for? Well, I said, look at it this way. They work 10, 12, 14-hour days, 6 days a week, went to church on Sunday, had very little food, didn't know what the heck fruit was.
Right.
You know, you don't get very big.
That's the truth. A generation, even the generation that came after mine, and my kids' generation, these kids are getting bigger and bigger and bigger. We're supercharging them, I think, you know. But I can't imagine at that time, and this is something I've noticed visiting other museums across the West, is that, humans were a different size in that era. Yeah.
Well, my son, who was shorter than me, was with me in Battleford, and they have a Northwest Mounted Police Museum there. It's an old fort.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going through it. He said, geez, Dad, he said, those bunks are even too short for me. And I said, they just mocked them up. And then we saw a recruiting poster, minimum height, 5'2". That was for the Northwest Mounted Police.
That's incredible when you think about it. And now you see some of the cops on boots are pretty big individuals. Yeah. What are some of the things here at the site that you think people take away? You've done a tour and you see the looks on their faces and you think, I imparted this on them. What do you think people take away more than anything from the Atlas mine?
Just an education, a realization of what people went through to build this country. That's what I think they take. It's like, holy moly, I don't think I could have done that.
Yeah.
But I tell them, yes, you could have. Because if you got as hungry as those pioneers got, you'd find a way.
Yeah. It's interesting that we don't realize that we're doing that every day. We find, we're trying to find ways to save the environment, trying to find ways to make water better available.
Yeah.
We're doing the same thing. But when we look back through the eyes of history and actually get individuals who can reach into that history and tell us those stories, you see that we are pretty amazing as Canadians, and we'll continue to be.
Oh, yeah, we're fantastic people.
I think so. I mean, I don't want to brag, but if you're watching this and you're not from Canada, we're pretty fantastic. Well, Bob is anyway. Look, I really appreciate your time on this, man. And
my pleasure.
I congratulate you on keeping together an incredible site that I encourage families and travelers from far and wide to come in and understand better how this West was really won.
Yeah. And we are getting tours from Australia and Denmark and around the world.
That's incredible. All the way from Ontario, for goodness sake.
And even from Ontario.
Wow. They let us over the border and here we are. Bob, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
I appreciate this.
Thank you.
This is Jay Russell, and he's my connect to Bob. By the way, Bob stole my hat.
He did steal your hat.
Yeah, it's all right. Doesn't matter. There's nothing I can do. Everybody knows there's nothing there. But listen, I appreciate you taking the time because you really are the connect that I have here, and that's because you run the place.
Right.
So tell me a little bit about what the experience is. I'll tell you, as we approached, we both got excited because this felt like real, genuine Wild West, settling the West kind of era, and it's a visual beauty, man.
Mm-hmm. Well, in a lot of ways, Drumheller is the wild child of Alberta because it was one of the last communities to develop. Early 20th century, 1911 is when it first opened up. And there was nothing here. There was no infrastructure. And so by the end of 1911, there was 9 mines and hundreds of men with no infrastructure. By 1916, there was 12,000 people here. And
that is a boom.
That was a huge boom. And there was a huge crisis here. There was a housing crisis. Men and women were living in the hills, digging holes in the sides of the hills. I don't know if you saw our miner shack, but that would be graduated up from the hill. That's just a one-room shack built of mud, straw, and manure. And you put a coal stove in it and you're warm for the winter. So it was wild here. And the strikes were wild. The accidents were brutal. The working conditions were considered the worst in North America in 1919. And from there, we developed into it had nicknames. It had Hell's Hole.
I've heard that. Yeah.
Devil's Row.
Yeah.
Naked City. And then later on Payroll Town and Wonder Town of the West. So as the 1940s rolled on and miners started getting to work year round, then they had a little bit more money in their pockets and were able to establish themselves. And that's where the more modest homes came in, like houses with bedrooms and yards. Plumbing eventually came in, and children were able to go on to college and university.
Well, you hear Bob, he's from 5 generations of miners in town.
That's right.
So, I mean, it probably, in that time, his ancestry was in the hills likely.
Oh, it was, yeah.
Yeah.
And Bob's ancestry like many of them, came to work in the mines. So they had experience elsewhere in Clays Bay, Nova Scotia, Bob's family, and they came over roughly 100 years ago to Drumheller to work in the mines here. And that's the case with many of these guys. Many of them were Eastern European, but they had experience in the mines of Pennsylvania and West Virginia and were recruited up to work in Alberta. So at one time, in about 1931, about 26 languages were spoken at the Atlas coal mine.
Oh my goodness.
And only a third of the miners identified as Canadian.
Isn't that something?
Yeah, and they built a community out of it. And, you know, like
It's
I said...
kind of interesting to think because that was almost like the Canadian model, wasn't it?
Oh, absolutely.
And we saw that in other industries, whether it was building the rail or, you know, whatever. To settle this country, we brought people from other countries to make that possible. Their skill set, their labor, their ability to weather the harshness of settling. So it's just interesting to see that we started as sort of a multicultural society from our industries out.
In a way, yeah. And like they knew about the coal here for some time, but it took a little while for them to develop it. And well, ironically, the guy who discovered the Albertosaurus, Joseph B. Tyrrell, was also the guy that was here working for the Geological Survey of Canada. And that same day that he discovered the dinosaur, he discovered North America's largest coal deposit.
If you don't have a whiskey at the end of that day, I mean, how much lottery can you hit on one day?
Yeah.
Jay, tell me what people experience when they come.
Well, we got to...
Because I see families,
Yeah.
You know, a couple, obviously people retired and enjoying their travels across Canada this summer. Let's give Canadians an understanding of why it's important to come here and what there is to do.
Okay, well, first off, I'll let you know what there is to do. So you might be able to hear it in the background. There's a train rolling by. We can't see it. We have a variety of guided tours on site. And so we have where you can explore the surface of the mine on your own. Takes about 45 minutes to an hour to see that. If you come on weekdays, we have Bob Moffett, and of course our 5th generation coal miner who takes tours.
We all just met him. What a fantastic guy.
Yeah, amazing man. So you get, and where else can you get a 90-year-old 5th generation coal miner who's a gifted storyteller?
Can I tell you something? My first experience with Bob was watching him jump over a fence. He's 90. Coal mining can do something for a person's body, apparently.
Well, Bob is the kind of guy who just never quits. He always works, and he's always finding himself something to do. He's industrious, and we've never, ever had a moment where we're thinking, geez, Bob's not doing anything. He's always doing something.
I can see that. So yeah, no, as part of the experience, people like Bob specifically, a great perspective and a great scene setter.
Exactly. And then we also have the guided tours. So we got the guided train tour. We have guided tours into our tipple. That's Canada's last wooden tipple.
That's a tipple, huh?
That is a tipple.
What does a tipple do exactly?
Well, it's an ore sorting plant. It's a processing plant. So basically the coal came down from the mine and they had these giant shaker screens in there and they shook the screens, sized the coal into about 5 different sizes. They put a chemical treatment on it. And one thing they did here to make their coal look unique, well, what color is coal?
Black?
Of course, but at the Atlas coal mine, when you bought it, it had orange specks on it. It looked like it was already on fire. Oh. And that was its brand name. Oh, I was going to take off my shirt, but I won't. But it says Wildfire Coal, and that was the brand of coal that they sold here.
Fascinating. So they just added a little bit of color, just, I guess, spray paint on it as it went by or something?
Yeah, they blessed the coal. They had a paintbrush and powder paint, and just sprinkle it as it goes by, puts these orange dots in the coal, makes it look like it's already on fire.
That's a fantastic marketing ploy, huh?
It was, and it was one of the best-selling brands of coal in Alberta at the time. And they ran with it. They hired a monoplane and a barnstorming pilot, and the plane was called the Lady Wildfire. It went through all of Alberta, Saskatchewan, Manitoba. We'd go to Midway, Stampedes, Chautauquas, give kids rides, create buzz.
Yeah,
They knew their marketing way back then.
So you get to go up to the tipple and see this sorting scenario?
Exactly.
Do you get to walk up the I guess, what do you call that, a ramp?
That's a gantry.
That's a gantry.
You bet. And so we have the guided tipple tour. You take a secondary gantry up this way into the tipple, and there's all kinds of stories and machinery in there. It's an amazing tour, if you ask me. But if you want the one that everyone wants, that's the underground tour. And that one is a hike. And so that one you climb up the primary gantry, that skinny building here.
Right.
And you go up to where it connects to the hill. And then you venture out onto what the miners call the chicken run, and then you take the miners trail, which was built in 1936, all the way up to the mine portal. And so from that spot there, it's about 16 stories gaining elevation for you. So it is a hike, but those who take it are rewarded. You get to go underground, turn the lights off, shovel a little coal, hear some stories, see the coal face.
I'm doing that before I go, Jim.
Oh, okay.
I can't wait.
Okay.
That's exciting. And then, of course, yeah, the train that you mentioned. On site, there are all the operating buildings, I guess, behind us. As we made the entry, there seems to be like a little village of
company
houses.
houses. Yeah. So there's actually quite a few things to see and do. So when you come into the parking lot, most people go to the gift shop. It looks like a company store. That's what it was for a while. And you get oriented there, but then there's the company houses. The company houses have exhibits in them, so they're mostly interactive for kids. So there's an art interactive, there's a lunch interactive. And then there's buildings on site. When you do the self-guided, you can go into the wash house, you can go to the lamp house, go to the front door of the supply house, mine office. So there's a lot of things to see. And this site was basically shut down in 1984 and became a museum in 87.
So right away, locally, people had a vision for how important this was to maintain as part of the, I guess, context historical for Drumheller.
Yeah. At that point, of course, the town was in economic downturn, and the Tyrrell opened up in 1985, and the valley knew that there was some tourism already happening already.
Yeah.
It's been there since the 1950s, but they realized that we could really make our economy go with this. And so Drumheller, around the 80s, started really turning things around in terms of tourism, and the local local residents here realized, this is our heritage. And we're proud of our heritage, and there is something about it, and we did get nationally designated. This was part of building of Canada. It was Drumheller coal that helped heat the homes, cook the food, run the trains of Western Canadians, make electricity. Without Drumheller coal at that time in Canada's history, the economic prosperity we take advantage of now may have been greatly delayed, or maybe never even happened at all. Yeah.
All right, well listen, I'll tell you what, we're going to give people a look around, and I'll make sure that people get the contact information in the description of the audio and video version of this visit that we've had. You'll be able to make contact, understand a little bit more. Jay, thanks, man. I really appreciate this.
No problem, Mike.